This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. They were intimidated, threatened, and harassed. Convenience stores, police say, were targeted by extortionists, and some businesses burned down. Now, months later, 5 people have been charged, and Canada-wide warrants are out for 2 others who are wanted. CBC's Mike Artisanal has the latest.
Arson, threats, and thousands of dollars in damage. The result of extortion attacks on Winnipeg businesses last summer. Now, Winnipeg police say they've arrested several of the people involved.
It was learned that a group of individuals, some from Winnipeg and others from Eastern Canada, were sent to threaten and extort local business owners using arson as a weapon.
Police say 3 businesses were set on fire last July. 2 convenience stores in the 600 and 800 blocks of Selkirk Avenue and a warehouse in the 1300 block of Spruce Street. 3 businesses were also the target of extortion, including stores in the 400 and 800 blocks of Selkirk and another store in the 1000 block of Main Street. Inspector Jen McKinnon believes the people charged went after the businesses because they are small and local.
Because you're targeting a business owner, you're not targeting a franchise of businesses. So I think it made these lone stores more vulnerable to this type of crime.
Winnipeg saw dozens of arson attacks last year. In November, Jesse Wheatland was arrested in connection to a handful of arsons, including 2 constituency offices and some restaurants. McKinnon says that made the investigation more complicated, although it was clear to officers the causes were different. Tuesday, Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham commended the police for the arrests.
And let me be blunt and direct to anyone thinking that they can target our businesses. You will not intimidate this city. If you prey on our community, you will be caught and you will be held accountable.
Police haven't laid any charges in connection to other extortion attempts that happened last year, including 2 local Thai restaurants and Logan convenience store. McKinnon says all investigations have different challenges, including the quality of the evidence.
Those investigations continue, and if there's further conclusions to be drawn from that investigation, we'll come out with it.
Winnipeg police are still looking for 2 people they believe played a significant role in the attacks, 29-year-old Farhan Nabil and 40-year-old Jermaine Weeks. Police believe the 2 may have left the province and are asking anyone with information to contact police. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A school on a Manitoba First Nation was destroyed by fire today. The fire broke out around 3 in the morning at the Barons River First Nation School. People were told to stay indoors due to air quality concerns. Heavy flames and smoke could be seen spewing from the building. RCMP say no one was inside at the time. The school has nursery to grade 9 students and an adult education program. Chief and council say they're exploring short and long-term solutions for nearly 400 students. The community's arena was previously destroyed by fire last January. An eyesore at the entrance to Winnipeg's Exchange District is getting not just a makeover, but a nearly complete reconstruction. As CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, there's a plan to replace the vacant and derelict St. Charles Hotel.
The St. Charles Hotel has stood for 113 years, but it's been empty for much of that. A symbol of the faded glory at the heart of what once was the fastest growing city in North America. Now, with the help of $5 million worth of public funds, there's a plan to redevelop the St. Charles Hotel into residential housing, along with 3 other buildings in downtown Winnipeg. Downtown development agency CentreVenture announced federal and municipal funding this morning to convert 4 vacant heritage buildings in downtown Winnipeg into residential housing, almost 300 new units in total. The largest project is the St. Charles. Building owner Ken Zafman plans to replace the hotel with an 11-story tower with 140 residential units while preserving the brick facades on Notre Dame Avenue and Albert Street.
Our strategy is to scan very carefully the existing facade, dismantle it, store it, build a new building, and then come back and replace the facade.
The second largest project will see a new tower rise above the former Sanford building in Moss Garage, with 114 new units at Bannatyne Avenue and Princess Street. 29 units will be built inside the Belgica block on Gary Street, south of Portage Avenue.
The biggest thing is to get some of these underutilized buildings that are basically vacant. This has been vacant for quite some time, or predominantly vacant, and just get it back to being used by the public.
And 14 units are going into the Alloway block on McDermott Avenue east of Main Street. The plan is to squeeze them in by getting permission to install a single staircase.
That gives us 14 suites, all about 400 to 450 square feet. So basically the entire building will be affordable apartments.
Centre Venture says about a third of the new units will be designated affordable. The public money helps bridge the gap between the cost of the work and the ability to get a return.
The efficiency of these buildings are not like a new build. There's also uncertainties. What do you find when you open up the building or look at the flooring? Sometimes these buildings have things that need to be remediated.
Centre Venture hopes to add 750 new units a year to downtown. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Work to demolish and redevelop Portage Place continues as tenants in the mall adjust to life in an active construction zone. Our cameras got a glimpse inside the transformation taking place in Winnipeg's downtown. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, the new mall will include healthcare and housing.
An excavator chews up the old mall, working inside what used to be the atrium of Portage Place, part of a large-scale deconstruction and downtown redevelopment project.
And then we'll put in new where we need to adapt this facility into something that's going to serve us into the future for decades.
True North Real Estate Development bought the property and is leading the transformation. The focus right now is on an area that will eventually be home to a 12-story healthcare center of excellence on the east block of the mall. David Van Horn with PCL Construction says the existing floors need to be rebuilt to support heavy medical equipment like MRI machines.
We have to take that piece of slab out and put in a new slab that's more appropriate for that use.
Portions of the mall remain open for business. Katie Inverarity says crowds at Prairie Theatre Exchange have been strong, even with performances taking place around an active construction zone.
Our 300-plus seat theater here is filled every night, and so our operations really have not been disrupted, and if anything, they've been improved.
Throughout the building, including in the parkade, more than 9,600 of these shoring posts are supporting the existing structure during the demolition. While the focus right now is on the Health Center of Excellence, construction is expected to start later this year on a residential tower on the west end of the existing Portage Place Mall. It's slated to be 13 stories and feature 200 units, with 80 designated as affordable. The redevelopment is expected to cost $650 million and is on track to be completed by 2028. Sean Cavanaugh with True North Real Estate Development says once finished, it will mean more people living and working downtown.
We look at it as one of the anchors of multiple projects that are either already in stage or being planned.
A new temporary home has been found for Pitaquay Skate Park, which has to move from the mall because of construction. It's expected to welcome skaters at the end of March at 323 Portage Avenue. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The city is planning to control ground squirrel populations at 10 athletic fields through the use of a pesticide that some say is inhumane. The City of Winnipeg is asking for the province's approval to use 2 pesticides at the fields. It says many of them were forced to close by the end of last season because of rodent damage. The city says the holes the animals dig pose a safety hazard for people and also destroy green spaces. But both an animal welfare organization and a biologist are warning the pesticides cause a slow and painful death for the animals. They say the city should find a better way.
You can't just keep doing this year after year on an ongoing basis, considering in particular the collateral damage to other species, right? If you're prolonging the period of control where you're putting poison baits in the environment, it's highly detrimental.
The province rejected the city's application last year to use a sulfur gas product, asking it to explore other options. All right, Riley's in now. And Riley, although it might still be very cold, at least we had a little sunshine today.
Yeah, some sunshine to enjoy, Brittany. I was outside for a little bit this afternoon, and you know what? didn't feel all that bad with that sun and a little bit of light wind out there through the afternoon hours. That's courtesy of high pressure actually to the north over the territories and a weaker center over southern Manitoba, which, has led to a little bit of cloud cover through parts of eastern Manitoba into northwestern Ontario. But by and large, that's really all the weather I've had to talk about today. Temperatures still below seasonal. We should be around -12 for this time of the year. So getting up to -19 this afternoon in Winnipeg, -17s and 18s through south central Manitoba, and still hovering around the -20 mark into parts of the Parkland, Roblin at -21 degrees, and still again sitting below seasonal in northern Manitoba. Winds will continue to lighten up tonight, so we are looking at a low of -25 overnight in Winnipeg. But with that wind really lightening up as we get into the morning hours, that doesn't mean too much of a wind chill value as we get into the morning and to the afternoon. We're looking at a mix of sun and clouds again. Brittany, wind staying light tomorrow. We'll talk about that and when we might see a bit of a warm up when I come back.
All right, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, sometimes all you need is your auntie, or, well, any auntie, to listen. How one Brandon Library is providing support with a side of compassion. That's next. A new community support in Brandon is connecting vulnerable people to resources. It's located in the city's public library. CBC's Chelsea Kemp reports on how one woman is bringing essential social services to one of the city's busiest public spaces.
Putting together puzzle pieces, Destiny Thompson is also helping fit together supports for her clients. She's a case manager with Brandon's Ask Auntie, an organization that provides compassionate support and sometimes tough love for vulnerable people. Her office is now in Brandon's downtown library.
I get to see, only the things that we've been hearing about, like, oh, so-and-so is doing this. And, I get to see everything firsthand. And I understand, situations a little better for our people. And
Thompson says Brandon lacks a dedicated daytime drop-in space. That means more people use the library to stay safe and warm. Library Director Erica Martin says visitor numbers are up. At the same time, there's been more security challenges. She says having Ask Auntie around means some situations are put on the shelf before they even start.
When we have to ask someone to leave, it's kind of disheartening to leave them at the door, right? That's where our piece ends. And so now, if there's support on the other end of it and understanding on the other end of it, that feels a lot more compassionate.
Travis Norris has been homeless for 5 months. He spends a lot of time in the library, hanging out with Ask Auntie as he works to get housing.
Well, Destiny will talk to you and she will respect every word you say out of your mouth. Like, she is there, that's her job, and we need more people like Destiny around.
Destiny Thompson's been working in the library since November. She's helped people stranded in Brandon get home and de-escalated incidents that could have led to violence. She says trust is key in her work. Being consistently present is building strong relationships.
And Auntie is the only one that can love you like a mom.
Thompson is typically available in the library's foyer from Monday to Friday. She says while the program is helping keep folks safe, she still wants to see a dedicated daytime drop-in in the city. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
The Manitoba Nurses Union may designate St. Boniface Hospital as an unsafe workplace. The union says its members will vote on whether to grey-list the Winnipeg hospital. Grey-listing discourages workers from taking jobs at a workplace. The Nurses Union previously grey-listed Health Sciences Centre in Winnipeg and Thompson General. The Winnipeg Regional Health Authority says it's taken steps to improve safety at St. B. That includes rolling out a safety app this week. The app will allow workers to get emergency notifications and connect to security. A Niverville bakery is reviving an old bread-making technique with a new twist. The business is one of a few in Canada to use wild yeast to bake bread. CBC's Jura McElwraith explains what makes the process special.
This bread has been 4 days in the making. Maria Sariechko and Chris Hallbrow have their hands on every loaf. The seeds of forgotten flavors were planted when the pair started dating. Hallbrow's digestive issues meant he was unable to eat what his wife baked. She recalled and recreated a method of bread making used by her great-grandmother in Eastern Europe more than a century ago.
The technique was lost with all the things that were going on as humans, and I just rediscover it, and step by step remembering and researching and trial and fail and trial and fail and another 1,000 of those, we got where we are now.
The business started in a commercial kitchen run out of their Niverville home, but demand led them to grow, opening 2 locations in Niverville and Winnipeg. What makes this bread so special is that the couple grows and cultivates their own wild yeast and uses locally sourced, fresh ground grains, just like her great-grandmother did. A 2-day fermentation process breaks down carbs and gluten, making the bread easier to digest.
Our bodies are telling us that whatever we're eating is not working for us.
Monika Malalgoda, a grain expert at the University of Manitoba's Food Sciences Department, says the digestibility of bread depends on several factors, including fermentation.
It plays a major role in the final quality of the bread because it impacts the flavor development process, it impacts the textural properties, so lots of things.
The couple says making an environment for the wild yeast to grow is a science as old as bread itself.
Bread is something that has always been known to bring people together. We need more togetherness. The whole philosophy of breaking bread with one another is a very, very important thing.
For them, baking bread is a way of life, remembering family flavors long forgotten and bringing them back to life in every loaf. Jura McElwraith, CBC News, Niverville.
Riley's back in now, and Riley, I just want to slice up that bread, make like a homemade grilled cheese, some tomato soup. It really feels like that kind of week ahead.
Especially after the weekend we've had, right? Like, I mean, yeah, things are still below seasonal. Certainly, we're past the coldest air that we have seen. So I was thinking, you know, I had the day off yesterday, so I had time to think about when it's the last time we actually saw a temperature colder than we saw on Sunday in Winnipeg. So here's the answer for those that are curious. So just under minus 38 degrees is what we were at in Winnipeg Sunday morning, factoring in the wind chill close to minus 50. I had to go back all the way to February of 2021 to find a temperature comparable, and that's when we saw that temperature close to minus 39 in the early morning hours. Very similar conditions-wise, with a little bit of wind in there, pushing that wind chill value down close to minus 50. So you have to go back a few years to find some temperatures that are pretty similar to this. Certainly we have seen some cold weather in between now and then, but nothing quite that cold. There's that lobe of cold Arctic air, the polar vortex now over far northern parts of Ontario. That's sort of infringing on the Hudson Bay coast, where we will see a bit of wind, maybe some snow as we get through the night tonight. The rest of us still in this trough in the jet stream, so some much cooler air, cooler than seasonal, right through the U.S. Midwest, through southern Ontario, which is still cleaning up from a snowstorm, and the snow that's now impacting the Maritime. So as we push forward toward the weekend, we do see a ridge starting to build in the west here. And as this starts to push a little bit further east, there will be a bit of competition here on whether we sit either just inside the warm air or right on the line between them. This forecast model keeps us just outside of it as we get through the weekend, and I'm actually not looking at much of a break from the below seasonal temperatures until we get into the weekend, and then things start to stabilize and actually get a bit closer to seasonal as we get through the weekend, but certainly into early next week before that Arctic blast pushes a little bit further eastward over Quebec and into the Maritimes as we get into next week. So the country not quite done with the cold air yet. Yes, we're still in January. We should be closer to minus 12, though, as I was saying earlier, for this time of the year. So high pressure has really cleared us out. I mean, a mix of sun and clouds pretty generally across the province today. And again, there's maybe a few flurries or some periods of light snow coming as we get through the day Wednesday for the Hudson Bay coast. Chance of flurries in Thompson, but a better chance into places like Island Lake, for example. So that's the setup for Wednesday in northern Manitoba. The rest of us, high pressure keeping us clear, and the winds relatively calm as we get through the day tomorrow. And really what you see is what you get for the next several days as we sit under the influence of high pressure closer to the surface as we get toward the weekend. So expect a bit of a brighter end to the week, but certainly as we get into the weekend, there is perhaps a bit of snow coming to southern Manitoba, and that will likely help to push temperatures up a bit as we get Saturday into Sunday. So temperatures, morning temperatures close to minus 25 in the Red River Valley, 24 to 27 below into the western part of the province, with the wind chill. Not a lot of wind, so fairly moderate, close to minus 35 through the early morning hours for most of us as we get through tomorrow. And then Brittany, very similar temperatures to today as we get through the rest of the work week. Lots of sunshine into Friday, and there's that chance of maybe some snow and some warmer temperatures into the weekend.
All right, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
And here's a look at Osborne Village. As we head to break, we have much more to come straight ahead. Stay with us. The fallout from Mark Carney's provocative speech at the World Economic Forum isn't over yet. On Monday, one of Donald Trump's top aides suggested the Prime Minister had aggressively walked back his remarks during a phone call with the president. But Carney says that's not true. Now, the Conservative opposition is jumping on the disagreement. Ashley Burke has details from Ottawa.
The Prime Minister offering his side of the story, saying he stands by his speech in Davos no matter what the Trump administration says.
But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the president, I meant what I said in Davos.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent went on Fox News last night saying Mark Carney recanted.
I was in the Oval with the president today. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos.
In Davos, Carney used his speech to call on middle powers to unite against big ones, using economic might to coerce.
Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage.
Trump fired back in his own address.
Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Now the Prime Minister is facing questions about what he actually said to Trump yesterday about that speech.
So you didn't walk back your comments? No.
Carney says he told Trump Canada was the first country to recognize the new direction of his trade policy and is responding positively to his moves.
I explained to him what we're doing, 12 new deals on 4 continents in 6 months. He was impressed. And what we intend to do going forward.
The Prime Minister needs to be a lot more forthright and forthcoming with what is going on.
The Conservatives' foreign affairs critic says he doesn't know who to believe, but it's been standard protocol for past governments to release readouts of calls between world leaders, and that didn't happen in this case.
We want to see a formal statement coming from the Prime Minister in the form of a readout to clarify the conversation that took place between the Prime Minister and the President.
Canadians first learned about this call on Fox News. Carney has long said that he's in constant communication with Trump, including over text message, and that's why his government is not releasing statements after every time they interact. But the opposition says those readouts after their calls should be happening. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
There seems to be a shift in tone and tactics by U.S. President Donald Trump in the wake of outrage over a second fatal shooting by immigration enforcement officers in Minnesota. After another night of protests, he told Fox News that his administration plans to de-escalate the situation. And ahead of a trip to Iowa Tuesday evening, he told reporters his new commander in charge of ICE operations is already at work in Minneapolis. He'll oversee the investigation into Alex Pretty's death himself, he says. Tony Waterman has more.
The president has really been peppered with reporter questions all day about Alex Pretty. That is the veteran affairs nurse that was killed by Border Patrol officers working with ICE agents this past weekend. The president declined to call Pretty an assassin, which is contrary to what some of his own cabinet members have claimed. But the president did appear to cast at least a little bit of blame for the shooting on Pretty himself. Pretty was legally carrying that gun when he was disarmed and then shot by border agents on Saturday. And the outrage, not just over Pretty's killing, but 2 U.S. citizens now killed at the hands of federal agents since the start of the month. This outrage has really prompted a major reshuffle of command on the ground. The controversial Border Patrol commander, Gregory Bovino, has now left. He has essentially been demoted and is set to retire, while the White House border czar, Tom Homan, has arrived in Minnesota, and he's going to be overseeing enforcement operations. Homan is really seen as a more polished and less combative person than Bovino, and he is better at managing relationships with stakeholders. He immediately met with Governor Tim Walz, both of them agreeing to continue these discussions around reducing the number of federal forces in the state. Homan is going to report directly to the president instead of to the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who has really become a very controversial figure in the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration, and calls have been mounting from both Democrats and Republicans for her to either be fired or to resign. But President Trump making it clear on Tuesday that he is standing by her, saying that he is not going to ask her to step down and that he thinks she is doing a good job. Tony Waterman for CBC News, Washington.
More than 6,000 people have been killed in Iran's crackdown on anti-regime protests. The regime has imposed an internet blackout, but some information is getting out, and it's disturbing. This story contains images of body bags, and some may find it graphic. Margaret Evans reports.
A picture blurred by weeks of Iran's internet shutdown is gaining horrifying focus as people use short breaches in the blackout to send messages abroad, patterns forming. One, security forces are pulling injured protesters out of hospitals and targeting medics helping them. Some injured people who had improved were taken by the Revolutionary Guard. Intelligence, says this man from northern Iran in a voice message. We're protecting his identity.
We all traumatized.
This Canadian surgeon is hearing similar reports from colleagues in Iran that a nurse he used to work with was killed.
Shot in his head because he did not follow order that he's not allowed to help injured people. Simple.
One human rights group outside Iran has confirmed over 6,000 deaths and is investigating reports of another 17,000. A German doctor compiling information from doctors inside Iran believes the number is even higher. The Iranian regime admits just over 3,000 deaths, blaming outside agitators. This doctor told a pro-regime TV channel that his hospital alone treated 1,000 patients for serious eye injuries over a 24-hour period. Former war crimes prosecutor Canadian Payam Akavan says the world must try to bear witness.
To put the regime on notice also that although they may be in power today, they may not be in power tomorrow, and one day they will be brought to justice.
The United States has now moved a naval strike force into the region, including the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. What's not clear is whether U.S. President Donald Trump plans to revisit his earlier pledge to intervene. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
India and the European Union have signed a major trade deal after years of negotiations. The agreement will see both sides dramatically reduce tariffs on nearly all goods and double EU exports to India by 2032. The CBC's Salima Shivji has details from Mumbai.
After a flurry of last-minute negotiations, and on the heels of an extravagant Republic Day ceremony highlighting the close ties between European leaders and India, this is how both sides are describing the landmark trade agreement between the two.
Mother of all deals के रूप में कर रहे हैं.
Delivered the mother of all deals. We are creating a market of 2 billion people, and this is the tale of two giants who choose partnership in a true win-win fashion.
Ursula von der Leyen also pointedly saying that cooperation is how to deal with global challenges. Global challenge number one economically, an unpredictable United States administration led by Donald Trump, testing long-standing alliances and imposing stiff tariffs on many countries and threatening more. This deal is meant to counter the pain of erratic U.S. trade policy. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is saying this is the largest free trade agreement his country has ever signed. It represents about 25% of the world's GDP, encompasses 2 billion people, and opens up India's tightly guarded market by slashing tariffs across the board on European wine, for one, as well as cars from European countries, which will only see a 10% duty instead of what was as high as 110%. The agreement is expected to double EU exports to India in the next 6 years. It will also be easier for Indian goods like textiles, gems, and jewelry to enter Europe with no tariffs on them. And the deal is promising easier access for Indian high-tech professionals to work in European countries. Now, negotiations on the trade agreement have dragged on for nearly 2 decades on and off, but the talks had more urgency over the last 6 months as Trump's tariffs were implemented, and both European countries and India's Modi government domestically were under pressure to find a way forward.
This is New Delhi's way of sending a message to its own supporters and also to the world at large, that this is how we are going to approach. We are going to diversify. We're not going to be dependent on one huge country, even if it is the most powerful country in the world.
The deal will go through an extensive legal vet before it comes into effect, likely in about a year. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
As the Olympic Games tick closer, the Torch is continuing its travels, stopping at Olympic venues along the way. The Torch landed in Cortina Monday, exactly 70 years after the opening of the first Winter Olympic Games in that city. Now the Torch is on the move again, making its way to the ski jump and Nordic combined events venue. Full Olympic coverage kicks off February 6th right here on CBC. Coming up, events are being held around the world to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day. We'll have more on why marking the day feels more important than ever to some. Stay with us. Survivors, politicians, and others observed International Holocaust Remembrance Day, attending events around the world. In Ottawa, Prime Minister Mark Carney acknowledged the slaughter of 6 million Jews during the Second World War and paid tribute to survivors for their resilience.
You have lived through the most horrific chapter of human history. Yet, again and again, you have chosen to bring those darkest memories to light, so that what happened will not fade into silence, so that what happened will never happen again.
Carney also said the Canadian government was among those complicit in the Holocaust because of its silence, and he urged Canadians to remember the consequences of ignorance and hatred. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre also spoke, denouncing the recent rise in anti-Semitism and urging Canadians to stand up for the right of Jews to live safely and peacefully. As I mentioned, it's a day commemorated by Jews around the world, including right here in Manitoba. Jeff Lieberman is president and CEO of the Jewish Federation of Winnipeg and joins me now. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Thank you, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
Jeff, let's just start off. Why is it so important to continue to mark this day?
Well, it's been, since 1945 when the concentration camps were liberated. And, it's extremely important for us to mark Holocaust Remembrance Day in remembrance of what happened, the genocide that happened to Jews and many others by the Nazis. Something that we should never forget and should never be repeated. And it's important that we mark this day every year to commemorate everyone that lost their lives and whose lives were affected by this horrible tragedy.
Jeff, your family came from Poland. Your father was actually in one of those forced labor camps before eventually coming here to Canada. What is it like for you on a day like today to think about what your family in particular has gone through?
My father passed away a few years ago, and he was 4 months short of his 100th birthday, which is really remarkable because he really went through such a very, very difficult time growing up. He, along with members of his family, were arrested by the Nazis in 1939. Before that, my grandfather was one of the leaders of the community that they were in, a town called Piękna in Poland, and he and two other leaders of the Jewish leaders of the community were hung on the street to set an example to others. And then, shortly after that, the Jews of Piękna were arrested and sent to concentration camps. And that was the last time my father saw his family. He spent almost 6 years in different concentration camps or labor camps and did hard labor during that time. And the rest of his family, his siblings and his mother, they were all killed, and he never saw them again. And I just can't imagine what he went through over that time in the concentration camps, and just the way he survived. I've read some novels, some memoirs of others that have, I think, lived very, very much the same type of life that he did in the concentration camps. And every day was a struggle, and every day was just a battle just to survive. So this day is very important to myself and my family.
It was so horrible. So many families were ripped apart. You mentioned you just lost your father a few years ago. We know there are very few remaining survivors from the Holocaust that are still living. So what work needs to be done to preserve the history as we continue to lose more of them?
Well, we need to really do it through education, and the province of Manitoba put together an education program for students that begins in grade 6 and continues in junior high and high school, where students are being taught Holocaust as part of the curriculum. So that's really important for younger people to understand what happened and to learn about the atrocities that occurred. And these days with the rise of anti-Semitism and that's really around the world, it's really important for everyone to think about what happened and not allow history to repeat itself.
We have seen that rise in anti-Semitism, as you mentioned. We saw places that were targeted with hate graffiti recently, just some synagogues here in Winnipeg. So is a day of remembrance enough, or does what's happening show you that there is still so much work to be done?
I know that the Jewish community does not feel secure and safe. And as you mentioned, a synagogue was graffitied with swastikas a couple weeks ago, as well as a couple high schools as well. We've seen anti-Semitic graffiti over the last couple of years in Winnipeg, and we've seen other things happen in other cities, including the burning of a synagogue in Jackson, Mississippi a few weeks ago. So we need to not only educate people, but we need to, we need to discuss with everyone in our community, and really our leaders, our politicians, our business leaders, our religious leaders, and everyday people need to talk about hate and anti-Semitism, but all forms of hate. And that's just not the way we were raised in Canada, and those aren't Canadian values. So we need to be strong against that and make sure that that everyone feels safe in Canada.
Jeff, thank you so much for your time on this important day.
Thank you very much, Brittany. Thank you.
All right, Riley, back in now, and we've had that deep freeze that set in over the weekend. Some of the animals at the zoo probably liking it. Some of our pets, not
Probably
so much.
Not, yeah. Probably not. Yeah, it was a definite Booties weekend. Booties week ahead. We will start to get some temperature moderation, Brittany, back to seasonal, as I showed you earlier, once we get toward the weekend. So don't put the booties far away yet. All right, let's take a look at your dog walking forecast on that note. And tonight we have Petey from Cheryl, who is spending some time with their shelf stuffy, their ornament. And by the way, just so you know, got a treat for not chewing it and playing nice. You can send your pictures to talkback@cbc.ca. And just so you know, I have a bit of a backlog. So if you've sent your picture in a while back and haven't seen it yet, I'm trying to get through all of them here. So just be patient, please. Looking at a mix of sun and clouds as we get through the day tomorrow. Winds light. So, I mean, still looking at -19 by the afternoon. Several degrees off of our normal for this time of the year, but not much of a wind chill factor in, because we are looking at that wind remaining relatively light as we get through the day tomorrow. So upper level winds, you can kind of see where the jet stream cuts across the province. And this is that track here where we're going to see those high pressure systems pushing southeastward as we get through the next couple of days. And that's going to help keep us sunny, but it's also driving in some of that cold Arctic air through much of eastern Canada, which is still digging out from that big snowstorm. And for parts of the Maritimes and parts of the U.S., round 2 is coming as we get through the coming days. So this is the storm system here off the coast of Newfoundland now that brought all of that snow to southern Ontario, up to 60 centimeters in some parts of southern Ontario through the start of the weekend, through last weekend. That pushes off over the ocean as we get through the rest of the week. But as we get into the weekend, into early next week, there's another one coming. This one not having an impact on southern Ontario per se, but parts of the U.S. eastern seaboard up into the Maritimes, looking at another round of some heavy snow and some very windy conditions as we get into next week. There's still a little bit of confidence to be had yet with the forecast models, but certainly prepare or just watch out if you have any travel plans to the eastern part of the country as we get into next week here. So overnight temperatures -25 to -29 or so through much of the south. Temperatures around -25 in northern Manitoba. Winds lighten up as we get through the day tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies as we get through the day. Maybe a few flurries into parts of northeastern Manitoba, into Island Lake and Barons River through the day tomorrow. Brittany, and we're looking at mostly sunny skies, light winds, and temperatures around -19 degrees.
All right, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, the 2026 Juno Awards nominations are in. 5 Manitoba artists and groups earned a nod for the top prize in Canadian music. William Prince's album Further from the Country is up for Contemporary Roots Album of the Year. And Winnipeg's own Begonia is up for Adult Alternative Album of the Year. Sebastian Gaskin, Haley Jean Penner, and the Winnipeg Jazz Orchestra are also up for awards. Okay, still ahead, the winners of the city's snowplow naming contest are in. Find out who made the cut. Plus, if Riley Lachuk had a plow named after him, what would it be? Riley Plowchuck? Piley Snowchuck? Either way, he'll be back with a last check on our Plowcast. We'll see you after the break. Well, Winnipeg, your city snowplows now have names. After thousands of votes, the top 12 winning names have been chosen. They honor Winnipeg figures from Dancing Blade, Winnie the Plow, and Sled Penner to sports figures Melt Stiegel, Kevin Shovel Snowoff, and Slosh Morrissey, to name a few.
My favorite, as the mayor said, was his favorite, Greg from Zoe Vander who said that she picked that name because Greg is the cranky old man snowplow who keeps the other snowplows in line, but with unnecessary attitude, because every story needs a villain.
A sidewalk clearing machine will be named Burger King, a name submitted by a class from Ecole Van Bellingham.
So if you look at the 7-day forecast, those snowplows might not actually get put to very much use in the coming week here at least. So temperatures remaining below seasonal as we get through the balance of the work week, around -20 or so, but lots of sunshine as we get Wednesday, Thursday into Friday. We'll get some cloud building in as we get into the day on Saturday, and that does bring with it the chance that we get into some light snow or some flurries late day Saturday into Sunday. But I mean, a bit of a windy weekend ahead, but it's the temperatures that will be noticeably different here, closer to -10, -12 as we get through the weekend, and looking at -11 on the way for next Monday with a mainly sunny sky. So things returning to closer to seasonal for this time of the year. So a couple more days of some cooler weather. Well, members of a PEI Senior Rec Hockey League are celebrating the birthday of one of their goalies, Brittany, who is turning 87 years old.
I love it. Amon Bernard has been playing hockey for more than 6 decades and is continuing to inspire his teammates with his love of the game. It's our Daily Lift.
"65 years plus. 1960. 59 to 60, played in the old barn home there by the church. So that was 1960 to 59. My mind to stop the puck. That's all I got to do.
I love it. I just wish it was a Jets jersey he was wearing. Bernard says he plays for fun and exercise. The younger players on the 55-plus team say they look up to him for his dedication.
Wow. And of course, to win.
So great.
Of course, they want him to stop the pucks too.
Right? Love that. Great exercise. I don't know if I would still be out there at that age.
Good exercise on the legs and the ankles.
Yeah. Well, you can get outside, practice your goaltending here out on the river. Have a great night. See you.